Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give all praise and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, BAHASHAM. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone telling the truth. Citations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. YAHAWAH, who the world ignorant calls God and Jehovah. BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorant calls Jesus Christ. The Wakako doctrine shares the Holy Spirit. With the brothers of the great millstone Chicago camp. On the brother I will only going with. The brother Asa. The brother I Badia. Come back and true brothers and sisters in the household of faith of the hopeful right select with another lesson. And Lord, we hope this lesson be edifying for the spirit of power. YAHAWASHI. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. You know, this is a response video to what the elder Malcolm had sent us. You know, regarding the atrocities that Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white race, has done to our people, man. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. You make up the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel, man. Ultimately, Esau Edom has committed acts of cannibalism, worldwide lynches on our people, man. Ultimately killing our people unjustly. And the big part of this video, just like a minute played, was cannibalism, man. You had Esau Edom committing cannibalism, on our people, man. Mixed with homoerotic acts, mixed with that cannibalism, man. And this is the type of devil that we're under, because I'm gonna read a passage from the book, The Delectable Negro, which ultimately goes into that fact, man. But my brother can grab that Ezekiel 35:5 real quick, and I'll play a minute of this, and we just go straight into it.
This is the book of Ezekiel 35 and verse 5. Talking about Esau, man. It says the judgment of Mount Seir. So it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end.
Right. Ultimately, these devils has had a perpetual hatred against our people, man. That longing that, I was going to say.
It said in Hebrew, in the 1611, it says hatred of old.
Yeah, hatred of old. Hey, going back to what's that? Hey, Jacob and Esau.
And even going back
to Cain and Abel. Right. Ultimately what? How Cain ultimately murdered his brother Abel, man, and he lied about it. And ultimately what? In the reincarnation, you had Esau, and ultimately his descendants today, man. Ultimately what? Doing the same, acts that they're doing to our people today, man.
I get that in Genesis where it says
enmity between
that's good. And when Esau said where it says Esau hated his brother because of the blessing.
Genesis 25.
Because it's all spiritual.
Yeah.
It's all spiritual.
Was it Genesis 27? So I think it's Genesis 27. He said, then will I slay my brother Jacob. That's Genesis 27.
Genesis 27 and 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said, so even to this day, the Edomites know in their spirit that we ultimately are going to obtain the blessing.
Right.
And they hate us for that. It says, Genesis 27 and 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob.
Right, and all the descendants of Esau feel that way, man. You grab that Genesis the 3rd chapter, how it talks about enmity between the woman and basically the two nations, ultimately Jacob and Esau, how they want to war back and forth.
This is Genesis 3.
I think it's like around 16.
Oh, I got it. 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed.
Right, and that woman is talking about Israel, man, because it was that Jeremiah, I believe it's the 6th chapter, says Israel is referred to as that commonly delicate woman. Loosely paraphrasing, that woman being the seed of Israel. And
right.
Also what?
Revelation, the woman with the...
And also what? You have the seed of the wicked Esau Edom. So it's going to be a constant battle between the two nations, man. It talks about that even in Genesis 25th chapter. It says what? Two nations are in thy womb. So within, the womb, they were ultimately going back and forth, man. Right. They were fighting.
Children struggled within her.
That's right. before we grab that, that was Israel.
Could I
Yeah, my wish.
Genesis 3:14, and Yahweh said unto the serpent, right, which the serpent today is these so-called white people, the Edomites, right? That old serpent, which is called the devil and Satan. So it says, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life, which represents confusion. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
Right here, we're going back to what's that segment of 6? It says Jacob, basically held forth the heel of Esau. It talks about the same thing in Genesis 25th chapter, man, which is symbolic of Esau going down, man. Who's ultimately going to take down Esau? YAHAWASHI, man. But I want to play a minute of this video real quick. Brother, your phone can hold up sound good enough? I'm gonna play just a minute.
Just put it in front of you.
I'm gonna just play a minute, and then you just really just going into the atrocities, that Esau has done to our people.
It's worse, the oppression of women or the oppression of African Americans or blacks?
Yes, really.
Wait, what?
African Americans were eaten. Do they not teach this? They were eaten. Turned into
There was
predators.
widespread cannibalism in the United States.
This was with a specific lady in New Orleans. She I know who you're talking about.
Wait, hold on. One example of cannibalism is not evidence of widespread.
They used to skin it and make leather out of it. Why is that even a question?
I think you're saying because you're only pointing to one example.
It's not one example. 1837 on the Portuguese slave ship, the Aragante, the captain killed an enslaved man, cooked him, and made the other enslaved people eat him. And the crew ate the organs. In 1831, after Nat Turner's rebellion, they desecrated his body after his execution, and then some sources state that they boiled down his body to a medicinal substance for white people to consume as an act of final triumph. Vincent Woodward has a whole book about the incidents of this happening, the consumption of black bodies, not just literally, but physically, intimately. It's well documented. And within that book, there's another slave owner, a Kentucky man, who butchers and cooks an enslaved person in front of other enslaved people as a form of psychological terror.
But you get the point. Hey, that's enough of that, because it's, visually it gets you pissed off. But hey, we're going to read a few pages from this book, also The Delectable Negro, and everything, those individuals saying that those first few seconds of this clip, which was a 36-minute video, how ultimately Esau, Edom was, these so-called white people were eating Jacob, man.
I want to show the title.
Yep. It says, you want to watch it for yourselves. It says, white America panics as the forbidden truth about black history, and we're not black, man. We're different shades of brown. It says, it's really Israelite history. Right. It says about so-called black history goes viral.
Right, and that's according to prophecy.
That's right.
They going viral according to prophecy. Shameful spewing will be on thy glory.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab that. And it even talks about what's that in 2nd Ezra's the 6th chapter. Even let me just grab that real quick, if I may. Let me grab that English. Let me just grab this just real quick, because ultimately the truth is being revealed, man. Because it ultimately talks about what's ultimately hidden shall be revealed on the housetops. Loosely paraphrasing. But this is the book of 2nd Ezra 6, and verse 27. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which has been so long without fruit, shall be declared. So everything that this devil has been having for millennia, for a very long time, for centuries, man. Hey, how about YAHAWASHI is putting that spirit back into us? Beginning with this word, ultimately, letting us know who we are according to the scriptures. That's being revealed by ultimately what? The history that this devil had for a long time is being revealed. Man. That's right. The atrocities that happened to Jake, it's ultimately being brought to the forefront. And ultimately what? These devils ultimately, the Lord is putting a spirit on some of these devils to even, to tell the truth. See a lot of white women ultimately going into the history of what happened to Jake. Yeah. So ultimately these said things are being revealed.
That's right. And also it's being spoken on these chemtrails guys. The messing with the food, the fluoride water. This man is just truly busy and destroying. He's his hunger for war 250th year anniversary and 237 years being at war. So he's just constantly an evil, wicked entity. You know, so I got this Amos 1 and 11. And Amos 1 and 11 reads, Thus saith the Lord Yahawah, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever.
Right, so YAHAWASHI is essentially going to repay these devils back for what they have done to our people, man. You know, and it's a lot of things that's not even documented. You know, hey, just imagine the things we do know. It's a lot. Just imagine the things that we don't know, man. You know, and ultimately, what we're talking about, the cannibalistic acts. Not only the cannibalism, but ultimately as I'm going to read a few passages of this book. The whole, as the book was said, the hetero, I forget how it says, homoerotic, the homoeroticism. That's how they describe it. So essentially, they would eat the bodies and they would get off, have a sexual fetish on eating the bodies, man. This can be found in the Delectable Negro, man, and everything we just played in that few seconds of that video, they was loosely going into it, man. So ultimately, Esau even has to pay for that, man. Ultimately, he pursued us with the sword, man. Hey, ultimately, it's going to come back on his head, man. Scripture says, give reward unto them double, man.
That's right, bro.
But I got a quick one for you, brothers. And then we still got that other one back in Habakkuk. This is the book of Ezekiel 25 and verse 12. Thus saith the Lord Yahawah, because that Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance and have greatly offended and revenged themselves upon them. And that's what these Edomites have done, man. They ultimately what? They pursued us with the sword, man. Even going back to Genesis 27 chapter, what did Esau say? Then will I see my brother Jacob, man. And all of these Edomites feel that way, man. It says, verse 13, it says, Therefore, thus said the Lord Yahawah, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Don shall fall by the sword. So ultimately, we know that the Lord is going to destroy this place by ICBM missiles, man. By ultimately what? Eradicating this man's system entirely, man. And I was just laying back on the Brother YAHAWAH video he did a couple of days ago, how the Lord is ultimately dismantling the Edomite system as we know it, man. It says, verse 14, it says, And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to my anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord Yahawah. So ultimately, everything that these devils have done, and the Lord is going to give us the power to ultimately want to give, to get that revenge, man. Because it talks about it, that Jeremiah 51. Thou all my battle axes and weapons of war. And because we were just talking about the bodies before the camera came on, man. What comes with those new bodies? Spiritual powers. And we're going to tread upon these devils as they tread upon us. But hey, we're going to get in these devils' asses, man, on a life that this world has never seen before, man.
Shot with my leash.
Yep.
Leash us.
Jeremiah 51 and 20. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms.
So you start at verse 19, huh?
Jeremiah 51 and 19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahawah of hosts is his name.
Right, so you have what? Jacob's a peculiar people, man. Hey, Jacob made the world go around, as they would say, man. We're the creator of all things. We're the founder of all things, whether it be creations, whether it be different type of findings, man. Jacob is the former of all things, man. It says, just to go back on the scripture you read, it says, Thou art my battle axes and weapons of war, man, because the Lord is going to use his elect to ultimately what? To do damage, man. Ultimately what? The Lord is going to raise up his elect to do damage into these devils, man. It talks about that. What's that? Jeremiah 16, man? What's that? Jeremiah 16. Yep. So ultimately we're going to be hunting these devils down as they did us, man. But hey, unlike how they was hunting us, man, hey, we're going to take it to the extreme, man. We're going to ultimately what? Because it says in the scripture, we're going to meditate terror, man.
Within the law, though.
Yep, that's right.
We're not going to do any
gay shit.
Yeah, or anything. Remember, this is righteous in the sight of the Heavenly Father, for the wicked to be repaid. And all this happened for our punishment too. He basically gave the devil free range to just do whatever you want, and this is the result of it. Things like that we read about in the delectable Negro, all the things that they're bringing out in these clips. That's the result of the devil having just free range to the Lord turn his face from us.
Now thinking he has consequences and repercussions coming with his acts, all this terror. So he will be punished for what he's done. Truly.
That's right. But you can bring out that scripture. Habakkuk real quick. I can just going through a few passages.
Habakkuk 2 and 15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that puttest the bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahawah's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory.
Yeah, shameful spewing shall be on thy glory, man, because ultimately what? Esau's true history is being brought to the forefront, man, of the different atrocities that he's had done to our people, man. Hey, because prior, even going back then, man, what was the Edomite, starting with the Edomite meal, they was looked at as the top of the top, man. Right. Hey, that the so-called white man can't do no wrong, but, ultimately his history is being brought out, and ultimately shameful spewing is being, brought to shame, man, because ultimately what? About the Epstein Island and things like that, but ultimately that's what we're getting into, man. The cannibalism, the mass lynchings, all these said things are being brought to the forefront, man.
True hatred, man.
That's right. But I wanted to get into probably read like a passage or two in the Delectable Negro. It says, hold it up to the screen again. It says, the Delectable Negro. It says the history of human consumption and homoeroticism, man. And I just want to read this this page in the Delectable Negro on page 31. It says, this white cannibal, I'm actually see if I can start up just to get the context. It says, pages 30 and 31. It says, taking my cue from this exchange between the British official and Augustino, I explore in this chapter that the correlation between the consumptive appetites of so-called whites and the transatlantic slave trade. It is my contention that somewhere between European, and they're not Europeans, man. It says between European, denial, and so-called African accusation, because ultimately they get us confused with Africans. Man, that's another lie in itself, and that's another lesson for another day. We're Israelites. Definitely. It says,
and they knew that because, like they said, they saw all the people and they picked who was the best.
It even talks about it in the Compact Bible Dictionary, man. Hey, we don't descend from him, man. It says, I'm gonna just use this in place of African. I'm gonna use Israelite. An Israelite accusation, a new species of civilized. So-called white cannibal, because the so-called white man is not white, he's different shades of red. It says the so-called white cannibal was born. This white cannibal was unique to the Middle Passage in transatlantic slavery, in addition to literal acts of eating, carving, and cooking flesh. So-called European and American so-called whites developed a culture of cannibalism, wherein daily acts of violence, religious conversion, slave seasoning, and breaking and sexual brutality all fed into the master's appetite for Israelite flesh and souls. It says many historical texts on the subject of slavery describes the importance of process of seasoning for breaking men and women and making them into docile slaves. And that's ultimately, even talked about, it was a serial killer called Jeffrey Dahmer. This is, the things he practiced, man. Right. By ultimately, because a lot of his victim was Jake. And that's the same thing he practiced, man. Right. By ultimately trying to put acid within Jake's brain and ultimately to make him zombie-like. And what would he do to those said individuals? He would eat them, man. But this is the Edomite, this is the Edomite as a whole, man. It says, elaborating on the culinary connotations of the word seasoning, and it goes into it says season to heighten or improve the flavor of food by adding condiments, spices, herbs, or the like. I link the physical, brutal culture of seasoning to the parallel development of erotic appetite, taste, and aesthetic longing for the black male. And ultimately, you know that Esau, used to still even to this day, butt break, butt break thing, man. And ultimately, not only was it, they was committing cannibalism, but with that cannibalism, they was, they was getting off on it, it made them feel good, they got off on it. You know how we see an attractive woman, us as men, we get off on looking at a thick woman and things like that. They got off on King Jake, man. It was a sexual fantasy to the Edomite, man. And this is, just to read a few things, that goes into, the different things what I talked about, man. Played a few seconds of that video. The delectable Negro goes into that, man.
That's their culture. That was their culture.
Yep.
Within U.S. slave culture.
Yep. And something they don't teach in the American schools, man. This is history that they try to hide to this very day. But as we said, man, these said things are being brought to the forefront.
And in a way, Esau really has an obsession with Jake. Completely has an obsession with Jake.
Yeah.
And even there's something called minstrel shows, where they would
blackface.
Yeah. So they couldn't even come up with their own thing. They just had to pretend to be Jake.
Yeah. And to have earned these gray hairs, the stuff I've seen, heard, and that has been passed on, and these troops are not coming out. It's just a beautiful time to be alive, knowing that this man is being exposed for who he is. And with these troops coming out again, the soil is soaked with the blood of the Lord's children here. Yeah. And this place is just definitely cursed. And if I can real quick, I want to read Psalms 85:5. Wilt thou be angry with us forever? Wilt thou draw out thine anger to all generations? Again, these troops are coming out. These troops are coming out, and it just makes us feel good to know we hit these highways and byways telling this truth. And this man is being exposed now. There's no hiding anymore. Right. This is a wicked man.
And going into that Psalms 85:5, hey, the Lord was angry with our people, man.
Yes, sir.
Because of the, our wickedness, man. What did the Lord tell us? Going back to the book of Deuteronomy, He said that we ultimately broke the law, statutes, and commandments, and we ultimately, essentially did our own thing. That all these said curses were going to come upon us.
Yes, sir.
So the Lord was angry with our people for a time, man. So we're living in a time. What's that in what is it? Baruch 4. It talks about mourning and weeping. How's it quoted?
Oh, you left with mourning.
Yeah, if you grab it from me real quick, I believe it's in Baruch 4. So ultimately we're living in a time, where the Lord is ultimately what is going to have mercy on His elect, and ultimately what His elect is going to be rejoined back into Him. Right? When as you grabbing that up, I got one real quick. This is the book of Psalms 149 and verse 1. Praise ye the Lord Yahawah, sing unto Yahawah a new song, which is His truth, and His praise in the congregation of the saints. Let Israel rejoice in Him that made Him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in their King.
That's right.
Let them praise His name in the dance. Let them sing praises unto Him with the timbrel and harp. For Yahawah taketh pleasure in His people. He will beautify the meek with salvation, because we're ultimately on the precipice of the salvation. It says, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praise of Yahawah be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand. Because the elect is literally going to have swords in their hands, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron. And even in the movie, what's that, Birth of a Nation? And this is the same scripture that Nat Turner pulled from, man. And speaking about Nat Turner, when he was killed, when he was ultimately lynched, man, they cannibalized Nat Turner, man. Flesh turned into grease, and they ultimately consumed this flesh, man. It says to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron. Who is the modern day kings and nobles of this society today, man? The elites of this society, man. Who are Amalekites, which are Edomites, so-called white men. To execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all His saints. Praise ye the Lord Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. This is what we're waiting on, man. For all the atrocities that this devil has done to us, and we're waiting on payback, man. This is what Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI promised that He was going to give us, man. That's right. What saying. He was going to give us the heathen for our inheritance, man.
This Baruch 4 and 6, man, if I may jump down. This Baruch 4. It says, Baruch 4 and 6, ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved the Most High to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies. And I'm gonna jump down to verse 24. It says,
Right, so we were ultimately delivered unto the enemies because we transgressed, we went off, man. Because it even talks about, what's that in Deuteronomy? It says, how can they, unless their rock has sold them? Loosely paraphrasing. So ultimately it was YAHAWASHI YAHAWASHI that gave us over to the hand of the enemies. Not because Esau is, some raw nation. No, because ultimately what? The Lord has ultimately, gave Esau the strength to ultimately what? To overpower our people and to what? To put us into captivity, man.
gave him the sword.
Yep. That's right.
Verse 24, Luke 4 and 24.
You can start at 22.
Luke 4 and 22, for my hope.
Actually, it's a lot, y'all. Man, this is a lot.
Yeah, this is really what this chapter goes into.
Yeah. Start at verse 18 and read it down.
Luke 4 and 18. For he that brought these plagues upon you will deliver you from the hands of your enemies. Go your way, O my children. Go your way, for I am left desolate. I have put off the clothing of peace and put upon me the sackcloth of my prayer. I will cry to the everlasting in my days.
And right, that's what the elect is doing in these times, man. We're crying to YAHAWASHI YAHAWASHI to deliver us out of this hellish situation. That to put this prideful ass devil down, man.
In the morning.
Yup. That's right, bro.
Verse 21, be of good cheer, O my children, cry unto the Lord YAHAWASHI YAHAWASHI, and he shall deliver you from the power and hand of the enemies. For my hope is in the everlasting, that he will save you, and joy is come unto me from the Holy One, because of the mercy which shall soon come unto you from the everlasting our Savior. For I sent you out with mourning and weeping, but the Most High will give you to me again with joy and gladness forever.
Right. How were we ultimately sent out with mourning and weeping? And the Lord ultimately cast us out of our land, man, gave us into the hands of the enemies. And ultimately what? We was plagued with the curses, man.
Yeah, and even the reason why the southern kingdom was in Africa in the first place was because of Esau.
Yeah.
Then he came back and
got all a part of prophecy.
Yep, all a part of prophecy. Yep.
So it had to happen that way. And then what's that? Approximately what? What's that? It happened in 69, 70 AD. Approximately what? I don't know the time frame exactly, but what's that? 1,000 plus years later.
Yeah, because Revelation talks about the woman will be nourished for a time.
Yep. And ultimately what? Jake's, selling on the west coast of Africa for some time. You had Esau come through, and ultimately what? Take us over, from the west coast of Africa to the Americas, man. Because it talks about what's that? The land prepared.
And then what? You would go to Egypt again in ships.
Yep. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. You got it.
This is 4 and 23. 24. Like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting.
Right, that's where you get the strangers of our salvation, the wisdom of Solomon in the 5th chapter, man. They're going to see it. It's going to be a worldwide event, man. Ultimately, these nations looking down upon us, man, starting with the Edomites, man. They're going to see us getting beamed up and changed in the twinkling of an eye, man. It's the book, what's that, 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter talks about, man. You got it up.
Verse book 4 and 25. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High. For thine enemy has persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction, and shalt tread upon his neck.
Right, so ultimately what? Hey, we're in a low condition right now, but the Lord is, quickly, basically going that reverse Uno card, man. Now Esau Edom is starting to go through, and we're ultimately starting to see his fall, man. What's that? So 125 and 7 says, he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. So we're actually seeing that right now before our eyes, man.
And knowing this man is an SA psychopath, it's truly a blessing to see everything coming out to show, is this the man everybody feared? This sick, disgusted, this man deranged, right? Deranged? Right, come on. He has to have his judgment come.
Hey, you know what? Just go on here and read to the end. This is the raw chart.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Yeah. You gotta highlight the whole thing, brother.
Meat
You
on
like
that
that
bone.
sometimes.
That's right. Yes,
I
sir.
like it, man. We got a little joke when you got the whole chapter highlighted. But it says Baruch 4 and 26. My delicate ones, right? The Lord called us the apple of his eye.
That's right.
My delicate ones have gone rough ways, and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemies. Be of good cheer, O my children.
Good comfort.
Oh, Slack, be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto the Most High God. For ye shall be remembered of him that brought these things upon you.
Right, and it's no different, man. What happened in times past, man, when we were ultimately in captivity under these damn demons, man? Hey, beginning with the Edomites, man. Ultimately, the Lord always delivered us from said situations, man. And also made an example of those said places that we're in captivity in, man. What's a big example of that? Ancient Egypt. Look how the Lord played ancient Egypt of us exiting out of ancient Egypt, man.
Yeah.
You know, the Lord ultimately plagued that place, and the Lord essentially destroyed that place, man. Same thing is going to happen to America, man. Because he even talks about it's no more going to be said at the Lord liveth that brought thee out of the land of Egypt, but the land of the north, man. What the Lord is going to do to this place, that's going to far surpass that of what he did to ancient Egypt, man.
Yeah, that goes with, of course, this man's infatuation with Egypt, and then Babylon being, twice as bad. So this man has constantly been a thorn in the Lord's side.
Hey, because we have never been, downtrodden, destroyed as we are in this captivity, man. Abused. Our heritage, because this is the only captivity where our heritage and our nationality was taken away from us. The name of the Lord was taken away from us, man. Wow. So ultimately, this devil has to pay for that, man. Wow. Wow.
Baruch 4 and 28. For as it was your minds to go astray from the Most High, so being returned, seeking 10 times more.
Right, and ultimately, as we return back to YAHAWASHI, we're seeking him more than ever now. That's what the elect is doing in these last days.
Verse 29. For he that hath brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy again with your salvation. Take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. And Jerusalem means the instruction of peace. It says, miserable are them that afflicted thee.
Okay.
Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall.
Right, rejoice at thy fall. Hey, if you look at some old pictures of Jake getting mauled to death by dogs, ultimately, because you had white mobs ultimately gather around Jake, cut his rod off, and basically burn him alive, man. They got pictures, on display to this very day, man. What would these Edomites do? That's where you get the word picnic from. Picnic.
Breaking bread to somebody being burned alive, man.
You got these Edomites being married on slave plantations where Jake, about 100 has been murdered, man, been lynched. You have Jake's rods being put on these different display by these white families, man. Even to this very day, they got different what would they call them? When you get a souvenirs, that's what it's called. They got different souvenirs of them murdering. They have a piece of postcards, and even the whole ice cream truck. Jake don't even know the whole. It's to make fun of so-called Negroes, man. All these different things that we see, man. Hey, MF, even explaining in the video, man. This goes back to what the child of an Israelite woman. Also, they were supposed to have sex with each other, and that's where you get the term MF from, man. So they got to pay for all this.
You wonder why his women are turning on him now, after turning our women on us. So, yeah, judgment is here for this man. If I may.
You got a little bit more.
Okay, come on. All right.
Baruch 4 and 31. Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children serve. Miserable is she that received thy sons.
Who ultimately received us, man? Hey, Babylon the Great, what? Death and destruction, man. Edomites lynching us. Cops, Edomite cops getting off and killing Jake. What's the biggest case that's going on right now with this whole Nolan Will situation, man? It's clear as day. It's clear as day that he was ultimately murdered by his Edomite friends, but ultimately what? They're playing with evidence. They're trying to hide evidence, and ultimately, you know, hey, 9 times out of 10, man, hey, he's not going to get justice is not going to be served, but it's no wills in it. You know? So we're ultimately waiting on what? The justice that YAHAWASHI is going to bring us.
It's never going to come here.
Yep.
Like the other girl was talking about the Northern Kingdom, which is the so-called Native American Indians. And she said, you know, it's time that we finally honor these people. And we just said Jake is never going to be honored in this kingdom.
Oh,
until YAHAWASHI gets honored first.
Yep. We look forward to him coming back to serve justice, brother.
It says, miserable are the cities which thy children serve, miserable is she that received thy sons. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin, and was glad at thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation.
Right, and they rejoice when we fail, man. It talks about that, what's that, Lamentations 2:15, man? They clap their hand and hiss, and, you know, this the God of Jerusalem, man. You know, ultimately what? Hey, it even talks about how it's put. It says, they speak lawfully concerning oppression. You know, So, hey, ultimately, what was this old Charlie Kirk character, man? When he was alive, or whatever the case may be, man. But he was making fun of us. You know, he was talking about, you know, hey, you have Jake, you know, the men, what's that, 13% of the population, but the men more the crime, which that is false, man. You know. But ultimately, you know, they make fun of us. You know, they have, you know, call us welfare recipients, even though Edomites make up most of the welfare, man. You know, but you got it up. A little bit more.
Luke 4:35. 34. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning.
Which is happening to this place right now, because the Lord, because even Jeremiah 51 says, well, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. The Lord is plaguing this place in all different directions.
For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time.
It talks about it in Isaiah. It says, you know, it shall not be brought from generation to generation. You know? After those missiles hit this place is going to be burning for a time. And after this place, you know, ultimately when the fire is quenched, this place is going to be a big desert.
O Jerusalem, look about thee toward the east, and behold, right, and we're in the west right now. And behold the joy that cometh unto thee from the Most High God. Lo, thy sons come, whom thou sentest away. They come gathered together from the east to the west by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the glory of Yahawah, BAHASHAM.
Right, that's happening in these last days. Now we're ultimately being returned by the way of the word. Now we're understanding who we are. We're ultimately seeking Yahawah, BAHASHAM. Now that's the hope for righteous elect, man.
And again, when we have the police turning against us, when we have the courts turning against us, man, and we know our heritage now. We all our strength, all our guidance, all our love is waiting on YAHAWASHI to come back and serve these people what it is they're asking for. They'll get the justice that's coming.
You start at verse 1 in Isaiah 34.
The hatred's only going to get worse, man.
Yeah, because Esau, he's going to show his horns, man. Because he knows he's losing.
Started.
Yep.
All right. This is Isaiah 34, chapter 34, and verse 1. Come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein. The world and all things that come forth of it. Verse 2, for the indignation of the Lord Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter.
Right, he had delivered them to the slaughter. And YAHAWASHI, you know, makes a second return.
Yes,
talks about that was the 13th chapter.
Yes, sir.
You know how ultimately all the world's armies are going to try to fight against the Lord, but it's going to be to no avail.
Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood.
Right, the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And if you go into the word, you know, basically going to mountains, you know, it's a representation of what? Governments, you know, things like that. Yeah. And even mountains is a little we're going to know, but these different governments and stuff like that, they're going to be destroyed by YAHAWASHI and YAHAWASHI. It's only going to be one supreme government on this planet Earth, and that's the government of Israel. You know, beginning with YAHAWASHI.
And that truth is loud and clear right now with so-called government is compromised.
Yeah.
Verse 4, and all of the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from a fig tree.
Like that mushroom cloud, man. So all of heaven shall be dissolved. What's that Malachi 4:1 says? It says, "Today cometh thou shalt burn as an oven. All the proud head and all that good wicked shall be stubble, man." And this was for these damn Edomites, man. You know that because it's gonna go into it.
Let the arrows fly yesterday.
That's right.
Come on. And verse 5, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment.
Right, Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom, man.
That's right.
You know? So ultimately, this is what this weapon is used for. But the Lord, gave Esau Edom the mindset to create this that nuke, caused him to be used against himself. You know,
that's right.
Yep. You live by the sword, you die by the sword.
That's right. You got it, brother.
Verse 6, the sword of the Lord Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord Yahweh hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
Right, America's going to be nothing but a big sacrifice, man.
Come on,
this place is going to be burnt with fire, man.
Come on,
you know?
Yes, sir.
You got it, brother. Read to verse, read to verse 10.
Verse 7, and the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion.
Now, what's the controversy of Zion? You got people over there in the land of Israel saying that they're the true people of the Lord, which is not the case, man. You got those tiny tops, saying that they're the Lord's people. But ultimately, what? Hey, we're proclaiming that we're the true people of YAHAWASHI.
And they've been cursed with cancer being in our land.
Yep.
Verse 9, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Verse 10, it shall not be quenched night nor day, the smoke thereof shall go up forever, from generation to generation it shall lie waste, none shall pass through it forever and ever.
Right, so this place is going to be, after these missiles hit this place, it's going to be burning for some time, man. And after that fire is quenched, it's going to be a big desert, man. You know?
And a perfect example of YAHAWASHI coming back. And look what happened in Babylon, seeing that it was too big to fail, as Edom would say. This place has to go. Come.
This Revelation 17 and 5, talking about Babylon the Great, which is America, man. This final modern day Babylon. It says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of YAHAWASHI. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Yeah, that woman talking about America, man. Ultimately, what? You look at the history of America, man. What's its history? Death, rape, rob, and murder of the Israelites, man. Not only the so-called Southern Kingdom, but you have what? Not so-called, but the Southern Kingdom. But you also have the death and destruction of what? The Northern Kingdom, man. Here in this land, man, all 12 tribes were dealt with harshly, man.
Yeah, hundreds of millions of deaths, of murders, and that's why it says the saint was drunk, or no, Slakia, the woman was drunken with the blood of the saints.
Yep.
And this man is so proud of what he's done, and is, as prideful as can be with, thinking that this place is gonna last. So, judgment is coming.
Let me see real quick. Numbers 35 to 33.
That was it?
Yeah, that's one of them.
I got it.
It's the book of Numbers 35 and 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, For blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So ultimately, what in this land of America, Babylon the Great, our blood was shed by the Edomites, man. And ultimately, what the Lord is going to make it right by ultimately what giving us the power to ultimately to shed their blood, man. And ultimately what Esau has what 1,000 years of captivity to serve, and ultimately what eradication, man. After he built up the kingdom of heaven, man. Complete eradication, a complete what they say, a complete annihilation.
Man. Yeah, no nephew, no son.
What's that? That's Isaiah 14, right?
Yeah, I think we just read one too. Obadiah.
Yep.
The book of Obadiah goes into it too, man. Because of thy violence against thy brother Jacob, you will be cut off forever.
Yeah, grab that Isaiah 14 to 21 I saw.
And then 2 Maccabees 7, it says, but thou hast no resurrection to life. Talking to those Greek Edomites.
Isaiah 14 21. And all these devils go pay for that, man. And we all collectively have to go through it, man. Every single Edomite in these heathens collectively are going to go through it, man. With these Edomites.
Isaiah 14 and 21 reads, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
Right, prepare slaughter for his children, man. So ultimately what? The Lord is ultimately, wrapping up judgment for these damn Edomites, man. And ultimately what? They are their forefathers, man. These Edomites that say, I never owned slaves, I never did this and did that. You're ultimately back in your lot, as you were back then, man.
Right.
It's such thing as reincarnation, meaning what? Back in the flesh. So ultimately what? You're back today. You was those same devils back then that was lynching Jake, eating Jake, doing all these said things. You're ultimately coming back today to receive your good.
And will not give up any of his wealth or riches to, again, be responsible for what he's done. Isaiah 14:22, for I will rise up against them, saith the Lord Yahawah of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name, and the remnant, and son, and nephew, saith the Lord.
Right, so ultimately what? These are saying individuals that bring back their family line. It says son or nephew. So ultimately the Lord is going to cut off the Edomite race, man. Obadiah 1 and 18 that's recorded, man.
Yes.
If I actually can I read
yeah, shut up.
It's like, you gonna say something?
No.
Obadiah, we just read verse 9. And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mountains of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And then verse 17 it says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. The house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahawah has spoken.
Right, it talks about that. What's that? Jeremiah 20 talks about that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the drug the head over head for the moment. I said, Jeremiah. I always got Jeremiah once a lot. But Job, how it talks about that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the drug the head for a moment. Ultimately how he's going to, flee away as a dream in the night. So ultimately these Edomites are going to be a thing of the past. For all the atrocities, man. And this is just one book talking about cannibalism, man. So just imagine of all the other things, feeding our babies to alligators, ripping the fetuses out the stomach and stomping on them, man. Things of that nature. And they said things had to be accounted for and ultimately paid back. But your brother's got anything about that.
Just knowing that the Lord has seen it all, and all these troops are really coming out now, man, it's beautiful to know our heritage and also know that this man is being exposed for who he is, man. He can no longer hide and think there's no judgment coming for him. So, yeah, it's a beautiful time to be alive, man.
It's Psalm 79, 10. I'll just start at 9. Help us, O power of our salvation, for the glory of thy name, and deliver us, and purge away our sins for thy name's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is their God? Let him be known among the heathen in our sight by the revenging of the blood of thy servants which is shed. So that by us being delivered and revenged, that's how they're going to know that YAHAWASHI, that he is and that he loves Israel.
That's right.
And it says, verily there is a God that judges in the earth, man.
You gotta understand, man, we're the Lord's chosen people. And look what we went through, man. So how much more of a nation that the Lord doesn't care about? You know? But I got one more for you brothers. This is the book of Revelations 18:6. We wore her even as she was wore the Jew, and double unto her, double according to her works, and the cup which she had filled to her double. Ultimately, what does this place ultimately did, man? Of course, all the different types of wickedness, what they did to the Israelites, man. You know? Ultimately, rape, rob, and murder. You actually grab that scripture. It says the thief coming not but to kill. Yeah, John 2:10. Yep. The thief coming not but to kill, steal, and destroy. It says, how much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Because ultimately, this place hasn't been touched by any major wars.
America's never going to go down.
Yep, and this is the pride of Edom right now. But ultimately, we see these different plagues that's hitting this place, man. And ultimately, what the Lord is going to render this place unto this place double, man. You know.
John 10:10 reads, "The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. And I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly."
Right, that's the end of the so-called white man. The thief coming not but to kill, steal, and destroy, man. You grab me Micah 2, the thief coming not but to kill, steal, and destroy, man. That's what this is the end of this devil, man. This is scary, man. Rape, rob, and murder, man. Hey, he'll take everything that you got. He'll kill you, take your house, take your man. Hey, this is what this devil do, man.
How the song goes, he smiles in your face, but all the time he want to take your place because he's a backstabber.
Yeah, and he talks about that in Sirach 12.
It's straight up out in Sirach 12.
Yep, Sirach 12. Even it says, never trust thy enemy. But go down in that chapter, it talks about at least he take thy spot, or at least he take thy seat. Yeah, take thy place, yeah.
Don't be humble himself. Mm-hmm. But this Micah 2 and 1.
Yeah, Micah 2 and 1. Sorry,
woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand.
Right, they behind the scenes, ultimately coming up with plans and schemes how to keep Jake down into that world state, man.
Wicked
councils, places that the people can't see, man.
Secret society,
yeah. But the Lord sees everything, man. Scripture says the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, man.
That's right. Verse 2, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage.
Right, they took our brothers' lands, man, the Gadites, the Reubenites. You had Issachar, controlling the western part of America, man. What's that? California, New Mexico, Montana, all that say a region. Texas.
Mexico.
Yep. And ultimately, what? They took all of that, man. Ultimately, they driven Gad Gad and Reuben off their own land, man. Put them in reservations, man. They brought the southern kingdom over here, their brothers and sisters. Ultimately, made them work the land that they stole. To ultimately to build up this trash ass society, man.
And the Lord has blessed him by thinking he's all seeing eye. He gets to see everything, so he can have his final stand to control everybody the way he wants to.
The next thing you'll see is them change.
Man, that's right, brother. That's right.
Yeah. Well, it says that his hands cannot perform his enterprise under water. It says, verse 3. Therefore, thus saith Yahawah, behold, against his family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtily, for this time is evil. In that day they shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He had changed the portion of my people. How had he removed it from me? Turning away, he had divided our fields. Therefore thou shalt have none that cast a cord by lot in the congregation of Yahweh.
Essentially, and these devils will be paid back for what they have done, man. It says, how's it put? It says, woe to him that moved their neighbor's landmark. And that's what this devil have done. You know what? One scripture we got to look at Joel.
Oh, okay.
Joel. I think it's Joel 2, right?
Joel 2. Joel 2 is going into
Let me see.
the day of the Lord.
I think it's Joel 3. Yep, Joel 3. I'm gonna read it. This is the book of Joel 3, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, both the southern and the northern kingdom," right? Because we're living in a time where the Lord is turning back our captivity, right? The Lord is coming back to deliver His elect. It says, "I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of YAHAWASHI, which is the Lord's judgment. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, who they have scattered among the nations and part of my land." And ultimately, it talks about in Luke that the Gentiles are going to ultimately inhabit the land of Israel in these last days, man. You have the Amalekites over there, man. You have these said, different heathens over there, mainly the Amalekites.
Yeah. Because this is the time of the Gentiles. Jerusalem will be trodden down until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled.
That's right.
So we're over here.
Yes, sir.
The heathen are over there.
It says, verse 3, it says, "They have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink." And that's what they did to our people. Ultimately, what you had, Esau selling out for our people, man, auction blocks and things like that. Ultimately, if you read Psalm 83, it talks about these said nations teaming up to ultimately what's subdue our people, man. It says, "Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, right, Hamitic nations, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head?" So these heathens will be paid for what they have done to our people, beginning with the Edomites, man. Because ultimately, these Edomites, basically they thwarted the affliction, man. It says, "Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried away into your temples my goodly pleasant things," which they did to us, man. Ultimately, what? Avoiding us off into captivity. "The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have been sold into the breaches," the so-called white man. "They might remove them far from their border." And that's exactly what happened, man. We were ultimately scattered throughout the lands. We were sold, robbed, and murdered, man. What you got about it?
This is Revelation 11 and 9. And Revelation 11, it's going into our dead state in America. Verse 9, "And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves." So they didn't tell us who we were. They didn't try to help us in any way. It was just like they're confederate against Israel. It's just a joint effort. That's one thing they can all get behind. The oppression of Jacob. It says, "And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth." And those two prophets are, the elect of the northern and the southern kingdom.
That's right.
And when those two prophets are, on the scene, it's over with for the heathen. When we know who we are, all right, that's a torment to them. When righteousness is enacted, that's going to be a terror to them, man.
Yeah, and ultimately what they're saying, ultimately what our people rise up, remember who they are, and it's basically putting fear in these elites, man. And it's also about in Revelations, great fear fell upon them with Sodom, man.
Yeah, that's the same chapter.
Again, he was a prideful sinner, man. The prideful sinner, he reaped what you sown, and what's going around is coming back around on you. And man, we look forward to the punishment coming for this man. All right, brother.
I just got one more. This Proverbs 16 and 12. It is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness.
The throne is established by righteousness, man. Something that this devil can't do. He can't do righteousness, man, because he's naturally wicked, man.
So his throne's not going to be established.
I actually got one more for you, brother. You got anything else on that? It's the book of Sirach 10 and verse 8. Sirach 10 and 8 says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another, and ultimately the devil has gotten his kingdom by ill-gotten means, man, through rape, robbery, and murder, as we mentioned, as the scriptures mentioned, man. And ultimately, what? What's that saying under 6? It says, for Esau's the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that follow, man. So ultimately, all the atrocities, all the bloodshed will be accounted for, man. And ultimately, what? The Lord is going to take this devil out of power, drag this devil into 1,000 years of captivity under the Israelites, and ultimately, what? At the end, complete eradication, man. Obadiah 1 and 18, Isaiah 14 and 21.
Certainly so. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. Yes, sir. So with that being said, we hope this lesson was edifying. We want to end up bringing all praise and glory to
YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, BAHASHAM.
that will honor the elders and the apostles of great wisdom, intelligence, and truth, citations to the hopeful elect. That's why our four corners of the globe. Lord, we hope this lesson was edifying. Next time,